My name is Roman Schoeneboom, for the ones who want to try getting along with the last name. I'm Senior Service Designer here at Tesco, at our One Tesco transformation team. Happy to kick off that event today, and I will talk a little bit about why it's important to engage with people in user research. So it's important because 95% of the companies say we are customer-centric, and 80% of those companies actually say we provide great customer experience, but unfortunately just 11% of the users say we have had a great experience. So we are trying to balance the 11% to the 80%. And we actually believe it's all about empathy. This plays a key role within the problem-solving process because it unlocks capacity for innovation by allowing deep emotional understanding. And we also think it's very crucial on how you present your insights and what you learned. I was inspired by a 100-page report, said no one ever, right? So make it digestible, make it really nice, make it usable. We also think we can't really use the insight which only lives in the researcher's head. So how do you make that accessible for the team? How can we work with that? We're not just here to do some research, we're actually here to create really great services for real people. And when I talk about we, I mean the One Tesco team, and it's actually a service design-led transformation program aiming to place the user needs at the heart of the design process. And if you think about it, we are like a well-drilled kitchen, because in the kitchen you have different areas, different cooks, hot appetizers, cold appetizers, veg, meat. They all have to communicate with each other and have to ensure that they deliver the food in a timely manner. And then at the pass, the head of the cuisine actually checks the food and makes sure that the diners have a consistent, well-created experience. And it's the same with our team. We are 14 at the moment, different specialists. You can see the roles here. We all have to make sure that we are working together and that we deliver all our work in a timely manner, and we don't have someone who controls it. We have more guidelines and principles and workflows we provide to other teams and make sure we have a consistent way of working as a business. So we're working on improving the shopping experience and the retail environment for our customers. We're understanding the needs and trying to provide services based around those needs, and this means creating principles, creating guidelines, creating workflows for ourselves, and then we release it for others. So we test it with ourselves, we iterate it with ourselves, and then we give it to others. We're working on a digital design language which provides a consistency in visual communication, and we are also creating assets, for example code and a library, which then other teams can pick up and easily implement it into their work. And the idea with that is that we over time create a consistency in the way Tesco communicates to their customers. So Tesco is then one entity and looks and feels the same as one rather than a couple of different entities. We're working on publishing mobile app standards because in the past Tesco had a couple of problems with that, and we had at a certain point 140 apps and nobody really knew what we're doing with that. So a standard is needed, and in terms of research, we're doing at the moment a deep ethnography research among elderly shoppers to really understand are there any unmet needs and how can we help them to fulfill those needs, and we are currently in the discovery phase with that. So for us, we believe it's critical that your entire team engages with research, and there's this question of how do you move research as a thing which a researcher does to a thing which is owned by a team as an activity. When we thought about preparing this kind of talk, we came up with 3 areas. So the first one is you have to tell stories, and you have to be visual, and you have to share. And the other one is that you see research as a team sport. And the last one is you collaborate to get the best results. So when we talk about telling stories, being visual and sharing, we all know when we do the research, we create vast mountains of data, and we have to kind of work with that. We have to share it, we have to save it, we have to kind of make use out of it. And we believe at One Tesco that the single most important job as a researcher is that you have to share it with your team, and you have to get the research and the insights into the heads of your team members. Sometimes this can mean that you feel swamped, it's overwhelming, it's a lot on a daily basis to kind of do the research, go out, do the interviews, and then do the downloads and kind of work within the system, but be sure it's worth it. The investment of time you do, it's really worth it. We're working with research walls, which are inspired by the GDS and the Government Digital Service, which it stands for. These are seen as vertical campfires where people and teams come, share, and meet. Our research walls enable us to update them on a regular basis in a cycle with A4 sheets and post-it notes. And what you can see here is actually the second version of it. It's already designed in our new digital design language. Because we see it as a tool, we see it as something we can share with other research teams within Tesco, and we wanted to make sure that they are not constrained to our specific project and what we're looking at, so that's why we kept most of the things clean, and they then can decide what the title is, what the research objectives is, how they want to fill that out. And for us it looks at the moment like this. So we have a really nice space on the third floor. Behind the kitchen there's a big wall, so I just use those frog clips, whatever they call, little clips. So we actually can change those whole walls as well, and we can show the people what our research objectives are. The dashboard can show who went out as a lead researcher, who went out as an assisting researcher. We can tell people how many customers we talked to, how many staff we talked to, how many days it's been since we did the last research, what the current number of the team is, and also what is on for this week in terms of who does what kind of research or analysis, and what is on for next week. The second wall is we can show the people. Oh. Yes. Probably. Okay, great. The second wall, people we talk to, names, ages, their average shopping time. With the elderly, we've been totally surprised. They're running through the shop, so our priority shopper needed just 20 minutes. That was incredible. We are reusing templates we use throughout the interview and filling out with the participant or our own, just to show these are the methods we are using, and we're reusing them to show you something. We can show how people look like and how they live, and if there are any specific artifacts. And we also can show with post-it notes what we learned about that person. People spider web, I will come to that in a minute. And the last one is then what we learned so far. This is, are there any occurring themes, insights? Are there supporting customer quotes, supporting observations? What shopper type is it? What main retailer are they using? Might not be always Tesco. And what could we design for them? So it's all out in the open, people can see it, it's really well received, people coming along and having a read, and then you just can stand by and can say, let me just talk to you a little bit about it. So it's a great thing to do. So it's important to avoid the big reveal and update on a regular basis. So do update meetings with your team and tell them stories about the individuals, and we're trying to do that every 2 weeks, which is great. Get a regular rhythm and invite other peoples as well, because then they can see how you work as a team and how you share insights, and this then hopefully inspires them to do so in their team. And make sure that you have enough time to present back, even though it's just an hour, but make time for the team and do it, and give the opportunity for the people to get inspired, take away some ideas or some inspiration, and then come back later. So sometimes this thought process needs a little bit time. Visualize things very early, so you see patterns as they emerge. And like I said, this is the spider web, and this actually helped us to rank certain customer factors about health, mobility, familiarity with technology. And this actually helps to see who your extreme customer. I just took one example. So one user is called Derek, and in the area of mobility and health, we actually assessed him not too good, to say he has hip problems, heart problems, he's a smoker, and this all has an effect on how long he can do the shop. He needs to rest a lot, he uses the car to kind of rest on the car and just do his shopping. he has a car, but the mobility is more what can he do as a private person, right? In terms of technology, he has no problem to use his laptop to do online banking, use his smartphone, could be better, but it's quite comfortable. And in terms of family, he has contact with his family, but they are not living close, so the social environment for him is actually not too good. He does most of his actions alone. And when you then map that out in the totality, this actually then tells you who are the users, the extreme users, and where are most of our users based in what area. So what worked for us, we have a great system in place for uploading assets. After each interview, we're making sure that everybody in the research team knows how that system works, knows how the flow works. You have to be prepared to adjust it because it sometimes doesn't work and you have to do it first to realize, well, we have to iterate it. When you create presentations, that should be quick and easy because it's all defined, everything is labeled in the right way and you can access the data quite quickly, that's important. As said before, you have to factor in sufficient time for doing those kind of things, either the playback or upload the data. We're quite happy that we have fast internet here, so it doesn't take too long, but if you're uploading original movie files, that can take some time. Be prepared to adjust the plan. So this week we used to have 3 more research interviews. I went to that city before and we got the data saturation, and so it was no sense for us to go there and not really learning anything new, so we said, okay, we just push that into the next phase. And so remember, sharing your insights and making it very easy for people to take away is your most important thing you have to do. If you're not successful with that, the rest is probably not as successful as I think. Research as a team sport, so it's not just important to present back the ideas, but actually take your team out to do the research, and this also brings in a couple of challenges. It's important for them to go out to kind of discover those real unmet customer needs. We need to embrace the worlds of the people we talk to, and we need to go to them, and we need to talk to them, and this is then part of building this empathy I was talking about at the beginning. And actually there's a lot of evidence that if you get your team this kind of FaceTime or exposure hours going out and doing it, they're creating better products. But it's really important that you spend the time, you see that as an investment, sending someone out, talking to someone, getting this kind of experience. So what worked for us, we ran training sessions with our team to took them through what they can expect, and what can you expect, how should you react, how should you act as an assistant, when can you ask questions, and so on and so forth. We provided a little field guide. I brought that for someone who wants to see that later. Field guide is like a big to-do list, kind of breaks down what you have to do before the interview, during the interview, after the interview, and then within this research pack we have actually the tools that people use on the interviews, so it's all connected, and this hopefully will get the people comfortable saying, I'm going out, I know what I do because the little research guy told me so, I went through the to-do list and ticked off the boxes because I was prepared, and now I have the tools and I'm prepared and I'm going to do that. And we started to create little stickers as a reward for people who are going out, and as an incentive to say, well, you see, I went out, I got the sticker, you don't, so you better go out. And we also used the research wall, which you saw before, as a nice way, as a vehicle to show the business, this is best practice, this is how you can do it, this is how you be transparent, this is how you share the things, and this is how you kind of grab attention. Challenges is always how you motivate your team. Everybody has a day job, so not everybody can really straight away come with you onto research. So it's really important that you have metrics for that, and that the senior members of your team enforce this opportunity that you can do it. And we think it should never have been longer than 2 weeks since a member of the team went out for research, and this might be different for other companies, but this is for us this really works and is quite nice. We also should not assume that the stakeholder knows how to behave on research, and that's why we're doing the training sessions, and that's why we're remembering them even before the interview, what we are going to do, how we are going to do it, why we are going to do it. So what worked for us, it was really helpful to explain that the interviews and the research is a little bit like an unfolding book with chapters, and if you disrupt or interrupt that kind of flow, that this is not really great for the interviewer, him or herself. So we gave plenty of time to ask questions. They are built in the interview process where we can then get in the feedback from the assistant researcher. We swap numbers before every session, make clear that we're meeting at the same place, and then having a little pre-briefing session where we say we go over the participant's profile, paperwork, reaffirm rules of the interview, making sure that the technology is charged and that everything works, that we can go there. Yeah, so collaborate for best results. You sometimes have those situations where stakeholders say, well, but you just talk to 7 people, and so how can you make assumptions of the needs of all our customers? And this is a good debate to have, because we actually can say, this helps us to explain the why behind the what. And so we are thinking the best results come out when you collaborate, even beyond your organization, more widely with the research community, which we're doing today. So it's also important to do the right research. So market research asks 100 questions and you get 10 proofs, because they answer the question of a what. Insight research, which we think is the right thing to do, asks, in this example, 10 peoples and create 100 truths, because they're answering why, how, what if, and this is actually really actionable for design, so we can use those kind of insights. You have to also work with big data. I mean, that's a big buzzword nowadays, and we are lucky that we have a dedicated data analyst who helps us, once we see themes emerging, to then be able to say how representative our findings are in terms of the data we own as a company. And he also helps us to see cost implications, and if there's an opportunity, how big that size of an opportunity is. And it's really important to have those kind of things. Merging up your insights and your findings with the data, because you will end up facing your senior stakeholders and you want to make sure that they get the most out of it and say, we can best spend the money in that order with the biggest results. So it's just supporting your work. And it's important that you team up with academic researchers and charities, because they just have another way of working, and this very different approach can bring a lot to your project. So we are currently collaborating with the Institute of Collaborative Research on Aging, and it's more about societal trends across the whole UK over a longer period. We're also collaborating with HUK because we think they offer a great subject matter expertise, and this is great for doing research and also for recruitment. We are in contact and participating in events with the Alzheimer's Society because they're doing great work. If a retailer can design well for people living with dementia, they design well for all the other people. So by doing all of this, we have really explored the full landscape, and this just adds up to our weight of our research and the work we do. And this then hopefully means that senior stakeholders are more likely to engage with the results. And if the plan adds up, we are moving from a monolithic system to a user-focused system, from a large, inflexible, slow-to-change thing to agile, modular, reliable, responsible, reusable system which is focused around the user. And then this would be just the takeaways of that talk if you want to take a photo. Otherwise, I'm happy to share the presentation with you afterwards as well. And I thank you, and I'm on 18 minutes, 37 seconds.